New Jersey. So happy to have some time with you together this morning. And for those of you who need to know, it's Wednesday. I know sometimes it's hard to keep up, seem a little similar. But we're so happy that it's Wednesday. We're partway through the week. It's a big week too with Mother's Day. Lots to celebrate this week, hopefully. We had some nice weather, and it looks like we had some responsible social distancing happening to keep the parks open, so that was good too. And all of those things, the celebrations, the nice weather, are all very important for our mental health. And that's what we're going to talk about this morning. And we're so happy to have Assemblywoman Shavonda Sumter with us to share in this important conversation. Welcome, Assemblywoman.
Thank you so much, Helen. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for the work that you all are doing to keep us connected. I always like to say, while we're socially and physically distant, we're still connected, probably more so than we were before the pandemic.
I think so. I think so. We've gotten very creative, right? Of
Yes, yes,
that. It seemed important to have this conversation today for a few reasons, and it also seemed ideal because May happens to be Mental Health Month. Um,
it is.
it's a wonderful opportunity every year, although mental health is important every single day of the year. Having a month like this to highlight it is a wonderful opportunity to raise awareness, hopefully break down stigmas, hopefully increase access, all the key pieces to keeping us all healthy, which is,
Yes.
when we think about health, I think sometimes we focus on our physical health as if that is health, but the reality of it is this is part of it. this is,
Absolutely.
and
One of the greatest muscles is our mind, so we need to take care of it and always be mindful of that.
that is so true. And I have to say that for those of you who are not following, and I'm sure after this you will be if you aren't, the reason I specifically invited Assemblywoman Sumter to join me was because I, over the last, I think since the beginning of April, have been following on her Instagram page and on her Facebook page her mental health minutes, which she has been doing. For those of you who don't know, Assemblywoman Sumter is obviously one of our assembly in the New Jersey General Assembly since 2012. She represents the 35th Legislative District, and she's worked very closely and is very committed to health services. She currently also serves as the Director of Behavioral Health at Mountainside in Glen Ridge. So she is well versed in this topic because of not only her personal work but her work in the legislature. She really has been a staunch advocate for mental health supports and resources. So I really have been enjoying your mental health moments that you've been doing. I think
Thank you.
April, as I said, they started, and daily you've been sharing a little tidbit. We know that social distancing, although it's been put in place for the greater good, and it's definitely accomplished,
Right.
what it was intended. It also has created some challenges, for us as well, and some stressors, and that
Sure.
your mental health moments, I think, has been a real gift and to help uplift us through this. So, if you can tell us a little bit about what inspired you to start your posts.
So thank you for tuning in. It was important to me that I share a little bit more of myself. It's one thing to be a public servant, serving in a legislature where we make laws. And of course, when the pandemic hit, we could not gather. And that's very strange for us because you're used to a busy schedule. Because while we're part time, most of us have full time jobs as 80 members of us in the legislature. And then my work in the hospital and the healthcare system. This week is also, or today is Nurses Day. So let's give a shout out to the nurses for all the work that they do. Our healthcare heroes, and making sure that they have mental wellness is also important to us. But I wanted to share small doses, 30-second, 40-second clips with people on things they can do that are simple so that they had mindfulness of where they are in this moment in time, also some hope. So it was really a mission of hope and heart, is what I like to reference it as, the hope that tomorrow will be better, the heart of people giving more of themselves in this time when we normally, as humans, are connected and gather, but yet we have to be physically distant for the safety of our loved ones, of ourselves. Uh, the other piece of the heart is that more people were giving of themselves in ways we had not seen and exposing and opening themselves up to people where they may not have been as vulnerable to share. What I'm enjoying, as hard as this pandemic has been, is that people are connecting just like you are daily with the different social media platforms, the Zoom, the WebEx, Facebook Live, IG. We're using a little bit of every medium. Our kids are having fun. I know my 20-year-old has fun with making sure that I work all these technology angles just right. So I wanted to give people that sense of we're going to get through this, but we're going to get through this together. And then here's some little simple tips that you can do for yourself.
And here on the screen, we have for everyone to see, if they follow your Instagram page or your Facebook page, you can easily access the mental health tips. So, question for you: as I said, you've been doing them daily, and there's a lot to them. Where are you coming up with them from? How are you doing your research and putting them together?
So, so a couple of things. I have 20 years in the business, and I know. I started when I was 13. I know. So,
Thank goodness.
uh, but truthfully, it has been a vocation of love. Uh, Working in mental health with some great, great professionals. And it's truly all the tools that we use. I work with some great clinicians, and I have them in my uh, Fab Five contacts, as well as the folks that I follow, usually through the American Psychiatric Association, provide tips and are well researched tips on things that folks can do while they're at home. If you can't leave your house, and that's what's key in your quarantine with family members, sometimes that gets a little difficult, or in tight spaces. So, really trying to break down the stigma, break down the walls, and offer these tips of, one, physical activity. We talked a little bit about this. Listen, you don't have to be a yoga master, right? But doing some movements, some stretches really helps to give you mindfulness and centers you. Turning off that TV instead of tuning in to 10 different programs on the pandemic. Some folks, listen to Cuomo. Well, you start with de Blasio, then it's Cuomo, then it might be a president message somewhere in there. Then you got Governor Murphy in there, and then you got your regular news media feeds that's reviewing all of the loops that you've heard all day. Is enough to really have you fixate and create anxiety and fear on the world. So taking people away from those daily churns that are really, starting to get into their mind and their wellness space, to stop, breathe, step away, consider how much news you're going to take in. So really being mindful of how much your intake is, so you can slow down and create your own wellness at your own pace. And my gift has really been to share that with people, and it's been helpful. The messages I've received from across the country, from friends and colleagues who are following them, is phenomenal. Really, is phenomenal.
So, what are some of those messages? What are you hearing from the community about them?
So some of the messages, and I'll give you a funny story. Just Saturday, I had to run a couple of errands. I had my mask on, I had my gloves on. I was dropping off stuff. My husband was, we were doing the line. I was handing it to him. He was taking it in the house, and someone yelled, "Assemblywoman, what's the mental health tip for the day?" so so it shows me that folks are watching. Some of the tips that I give are on allow yourself to be self-accepting, meaning if you're not as busy as you should be because you're working from home, so your productivity may not be that full 8 to 14-hour day that you're used to doing, but yet you're doing it in small doses of 2-hour clips, or what have you. Allow yourself that moment to just enjoy being in the present, enjoy being at home, enjoy a different workspace. Breathe. breathing is critical, opening up your lungs, especially during this time. I'm using these earbud things and they still fall out, so a very natural thing because I'm moving and not staying still. But allow yourself to breathe, which is critical, and just being mindful that you're breathing. Taking a walk. Take a walk, keep your mask and gloves handy, but some enjoy your neighborhood, right? We chose to live in certain neighborhoods, so take that walk. I like to do it in the early morning because it's less people outside. I've watched since April the trees without having blooms on them now having blooms on them. So that told me a couple of things that's very simple. One, despite us being in this pandemic, in uncertain times where safety we feel is not as secure as it once was for us back in the beginning of 2020, that nature is still happening. Nature is still changing. We're still in our four seasons of New Jersey. So I can smile at just remembering and reflecting on, okay, we're still going through our seasons. The trees that once didn't have blooms now have blooms. And it's a very natural, calming process. Didn't cost me anything, just cost me the time to open my eyes and be mindful of the space that I was in.
Yeah, what a wonderful byproduct of, trying to do a mental health minute, that it does take you back to that, there is an order to the world, and that
Yes.
what's happening, that we will get back there. It is confirming for sure. That's wonderful. So, you know, in my position, I spend a lot of time telling women, the best ways to be their best selves and be most productive,
Ah,
be most efficient, and all of these pieces. But and I'm usually really good at telling them to people, but I'm not always so good at doing them myself. That can be hard.
very true.
So my question for you is, you're giving all these wonderful mental health minutes out there. Which of those come really naturally to you? Which are your go-tos for sure? And maybe you just shared them, but which are those are you still working on for yourself that are work in progress?
Sure. That's a great question. So, a couple of things for me. I'm really good at connecting with people, hence all of the space that I work in, working in mental health, even in healthcare space, working as a legislator, all connecting to people, all serving people, very important to me. What's hard for me is how do I do that with physical and social distancing?
Mm.
How do we stay connected? So, not being afraid of technology, had to uh, challenge my mind and my creative space because I wasn't, and I didn't think I was very creative. But this space right now, you have to be very creative and you have to be open to new things. Patient, as you mentioned, Helen, being productive, a hypersensitive world where we got to get it done, get it done, get it done. We're now in a space where the world came to a stop. Our flow in the way we do things normally was halted. And how do we create calm in that space? So, being mindful that it's outside of our control and accepting that I can't make it move faster was a big deal that created a sense of loss. So, once I accepted it, it was sort of going through the stages of grief and sharing that with people. And what I mean by the stages of grief is it's a loss for some people of not going into a workspace, a loss for students and kids who were in a classroom with their friends, a loss for teachers who are no longer seeing their students who, as much as some days may be frustrating or moments, but enjoy the laughter in teaching face to face, the didactic tactics that we use. A loss of us having free mobility to go where we want to go, to run into the store without gloves and mask, and be in a hurry to get things done. Acceptance of the world slowing down, acceptance of wearing gloves and masks as we go out, acceptance of washing your hands for 20 seconds, singing a happy birthday song twice with soap and water, acceptance of teaching our kids at home, acceptance of being quarantined in small dwellings in the spaces that people need for their privacy, and knowing the limitations. And then moving to, okay, I can't go to the hair salon. I'm not getting my hair cut, right? My nails aren't done. We're not going out and dining, but we may get takeout and bring it home, and we're still with the same people that we've been with all day long. So, a couple things I realized: I love my husband. 21 years, and we have a nice rhythm. He's that steady kind of love that I've embraced and he embraced. We talk about politics and news. Our son, who's 20, he's home with us, home from college. And when he first came home, it was our fault, right? And we were looking at him like, well, we sort of didn't do this, and we're sorry because the world's going to be different for you, and we want to create that safe space for you and reassure you. But our son gave us hope because one day when I came home from work and I did an op-ed piece that was published in the Star Ledger on this, and I mean I was done. I had given it all. I was helping my peers in the hospital who were breaking down because the workload was so heavy. And as healthcare heroes, we believe that we can fix it. If you come to us, we're going to fix it. And we don't have the answers. We didn't have all the answers. And it was more people coming for hospital services than we had people to take care of them. And my son was like, "Hey, mom, next year when I go to school, go back to school in the fall, this is what I'm going to do." And I was like, okay, yeah, yeah. All right. Let me step into this space with you because it takes me out of that moment. So really embracing your children's visions and dreams, listening to their fears and what their future hopes are, that keeps us mindful of the moments we're in, takes us out of a headspace that creates that anxiety and fear, and really I just wanted to relay to people that we're going to get through this, that we're resilient. It won't be without casualty because some days are hard, especially when you're losing loved ones and friends too soon, unexpected during this pandemic, and you can't join the family in the grieving process. Another big loss for us because of the public safety and the health safety. The burial process has changed, but making that phone call, virtual hugs, just seeing the faces and smiling um, has all made a world of difference. And that's what I really wanted to share with folks through the mental health tips. And I think that was a long answer to get there, but hopefully the intent of what I was sharing and the merit was received.
Oh, it absolutely was. It absolutely was. And I do think that one of the things that is wonderful about your mental health tips and the way that you present them really is it does help us feel like we are still connected to you. And hopefully it has created an opportunity, the same as hopefully YWTV has, for the community and all the other platforms that people are, as we've said, being creative and popping up with are helping us kind of meet each other in a different way because unless in our old world, right, unless
Right.
you came to one of our events or someone met you somewhere, they would never really have the opportunity to get to know you. But I know that
Very true.
mental health tips, I've had the honor to meet you a few times, so I have a sense of you, but watching your mental health tips I think really does give you, give the viewer a sense of who you are as a person. And I know for me, it's very comforting to know that we have people that are making our laws that are that human and that kind and that caring. Because I think that going forward, I hope that one of the things we keep from this time is that caring, for each
Mm,
and that connectedness that we have created.
absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Helen. And it's my hope and belief that we've created new social norms
Mm.
that will last for a couple of generations.
Yeah. So that actually leads me to one of my questions is that, I know in our office, we've had to, like most, suddenly had to flip overnight to being a remote office and putting in all these platforms to be able to do our work in a way that we could still make it happen because some of our work is essential with our sexual violence program
Yeah.
community. And so, we quickly had to bounce and you pivot, the word of the century right now, right? Pivot and everything, get everything
Yes.
running. Um, So we have all employed a lot of new activities, new platforms, new ways that we're doing our work. And I know I was just reading a Harvard Business Review article about, well, what's going to stay with us after this goes.
Hmm.
So what do you think will stay with you after this goes from the different, for you, your team? I know your team is still working every day, and things don't. I believe for all of us, nothing has slowed down. If
Yeah.
anything, I feel like it's gotten busier.
Yeah, it's different. It's definitely a different busy um and I'm still trying to assess what that means. Uh, what I'm hoping stays with us, and I've read, New York Times article, and I saw the one for the Harvard Business Review. I'll have to read that as well, because I'm also on a task force for the state legislature on the road to recovery with the governor. Um, I think remote offices are here to stay versus it being 30% of the workforce. I think there'll be more remote offices set up where people are working from home because we still have to create this physical distancing because we also don't believe the coronavirus is going away either.
Yeah.
So creating spaces where we can keep each other safe. Going back to school, some countries have done that as well, and students are wearing masks. So really looking at how we teach our kids safe practices, safe hygiene in public spaces is going to be a new norm for us. I was talking with someone the other day because I think the other thing that went away and came back is telephone calls. We were a texting age.
Yes.
Now we're doing voice calls, which I actually enjoy, and spending a little bit more time on the phone with loved ones, with our neighbors and our friends, and our mature saints who are still using the telephone. More phone calls where we're discussing things versus just a quick text or email. So I think that will be here to stay, which is, again, nice to see. Um, our are as we transition being productive, I think, as a country, and doing that 80-hour work week versus the 40-hour work week. I hope we've moved away from that, because when we talk about mindfulness, mental health, wellness, having more work life balance, which you've done a number of sessions on, which at one point I eliminated balance from my vocabulary, right? Full-time employee with the hospital, part-time legislator servicing over 250,000 people in the state of New Jersey, let alone the 9 million people the laws impact. Two children, one in college, one now a graduate of college, a husband, assisting with our mother-in-law. It all became a lot, and we were sort of on this treadmill, right, on the hamster wheel, going, 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 and not really breathing, not really appreciating the moments. I think we're doing more of that. I'm cooking more now, right? Go figure. But we're enjoying it and we're eating better. I'm doing more physical activity, which I'm enjoying. I feel better for it. The key from or a couple of keys from this pandemic is we're going to have to choose um, healthier lifestyles. And it doesn't need to be over the top, right? Just a healthier way of eating and being mindful of the spaces that we're in and how we use our time, being a little bit more judicious and selective about the places we go and how we engage with folks. So I see all of those trends happening as we move to opening up our state. I think you mentioned at the beginning of this Facebook Live feed is that the parks were open this weekend and people were mindful. As much as it's painful to hear that we're restricted from doing some things, the restriction was necessary because the rates of people coming into the hospital, the rates of folks expiring way too soon were too high, not normal, and in order for us to have a healthy state where people are living their best life, lifespans are longer, we needed to really take some drastic measures. So I appreciate the governor, all our elected officials, and myself included in that, but really my partners in the assembly who were double down focused on the public health and well-being of all the citizens of New Jersey.
Well, I think as citizens, we are appreciative of how, that, daily that our governor has sat with us and told us, where we are at each day. And also, as I said, you and others have been creative to, get information to us and stay connected to us. I think that's when we think about
Yeah.
who we're putting in office. These are the, we want to see these kind of behaviors as citizens.
Yes.
And look, I understand. I mean, there definitely, there's big considerations about our economy and big considerations, that are on the table that need to be, thought through, through all of this. But the fact that we put health first, I think, is an important message. I think also for
Sure.
our children,
Hmm.
that they kind of grew up in a time that they, had a moment where, hopefully that the message came to them that, when something, when your health is at risk, that you stop and do what's needed to take care of it. And then
Absolutely.
back. So I do hope that's also a message that we've given to our children as well. And just for anyone watching, in case you missed it, last week we did a wonderful episode with a child specialist to talk about the anxiety that children are feeling and ways that parents can help identify it, and also ways that parents can help support their children through it. And all of these Facebook feeds, that the one you're watching and all that we've done, don't worry if you've missed it. If it's something that you want to get back to or want someone else in your circle to watch, they're all available to you, not only on our Facebook page, but you can connect to our YouTube channel, and they're all there to watch, and we encourage you to share them. So, Assemblywoman,
Great.
I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you've got places to be, but any last message that you'd like to leave our listeners with, about, getting through this time?
So I want to thank you, Helen, for putting me on to talk to your listeners. I'm going to send you some links to make sure that if folks want to seek out mental health supports while they're home, especially to be able to do that through the state, that's no cost to them. I want to thank you for making sure that we're staying connected, although physically distant from each other. I want to thank you for elevating the mindfulness tips and wellness tips that I'm putting out there, because the bigger the message, the more we can be helpful to each other. It's critical and important. I want to wish you well being at home with your children and homeschooling, and congratulate you on doing that with such grace and poise, and still connecting with people, because that's important. I also want to thank the public in New Jersey, especially. I think our state is setting a great example for the rest of the country. Our governor has served as a leader in partnering with the region to make sure that we do what we need to do during this pandemic, that we stay close and united as a community, which is one of the greatest things that I love about New Jersey. While we're 9 million people, we still can drive from one end of the state to the other in a 2 hour period. But social media has made that connection that much stronger. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll send you those links so folks can tap into resources as they may need them.
Please do. And for everyone watching, just know, the Assemblywoman's links and others that we've pulled together will be connected to this post in the comments. Please use them and share them with your community. And I do encourage you to get connected with the Assemblywoman on her Instagram page, on her Facebook, follow her links. I have to say they put a smile on my face. I particularly was fond of the one where you were showing off your basketball skills and your skills. Again, it's nice to know that you're there. It is. There it is. That was one of my particular favorites. But it's important for us to take that moment. It's not a luxury. We shouldn't think about it that way. It's a priority. It's a priority to take care of ourselves. And again, as the Assemblywoman said, I hope that it's something that becomes routine for us going forward, and not just something that we're doing during this time that we're social distancing. So again, it is the day that we always, through this time, especially all the essential workers, we have much gratitude for, but definitely shout out to all the nurses today. especially. And I also want to say connect with Care Plus. I know that they've just launched a big
Yes.
initiative for our essential workers, our healthcare workers, for their mental health. I have to say, I can't even imagine the PTSD and the trauma and the stress from them doing their jobs every day and doing it in such a committed way to keep all of us healthy. So grateful to them. Not only the physical stressors, but the mental health. So please, we'll connect that link here as well, the Care Plus initiative, so that folks can connect to it if need be. Please, as I always say, mind your mind, plug in when you need to, disconnect when you need to. It's really important. We hope that you join us for our other episodes this week. It also happens to be Teacher Appreciation Week. And tomorrow we'll be joined by two educators, Rachel Villanova and Christy Weiss, who will talk to us a little bit about homeschooling for those of us that are doing it. My husband is upstairs doing first grade for two 7-year-olds, my twins right now, as I'm down here. I think I have the easier job for sure. The tougher one right now.
Right.
You may have heard a little bit of it upstairs coming through the video. But shout out to all the teachers for what they do every day. I hope that we appreciate them all the time, but I'm sure this time has given us even greater appreciation. But please join us tomorrow for some homeschooling tips. And on Friday, please join us with Vice President of Marketing from Conic Minolta, Kedu Fernandez, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about leading a team remotely and how we keep them engaged, how we motivate them, how we stay connected to them, and also as leaders, how we keep ourselves engaged to be able to do that. So we're looking forward to having that conversation with her. We have some wonderful conversations next week about keeping your children safe when they're online with the New Jersey Coalition on Human Trafficking, and some other great conversations coming as well. So stay connected to us. We hope you join us for What Makes Sense. And please continue to send us your thoughts on what you'd like to hear. It's important for us to keep you engaged and inspired during this time. And again, thank you, Assemblywoman. And
Thank you.
All of our watchers, and we will see you soon. Be well, everyone. Take care.
Stay safe.
Bye. Be
Bye-bye.
safe.